In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the police who investigate crime and the district attorneys who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into MB12, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, police admit to beating Aaron Roll prior to his death in police custody last month. Employees at the office of the Prime Minister claiming mold is making them sick. A man dies on his way to work, plus how the business community says the government work permit scheme will affect them. We've got those stories and so much more coming up. I'm Paige McCartney, and MB12 starts right now. Welcome once again to MB12. Testimony by police officers in the inquest into the death of Aaron Roll continued today, with one officer admitting that he used force on Roll to restrain him because he claims Roll was trying to jump through a window. Jasmine Bonmi was in court today and she has the details in this report.
The four-woman, one-man jury listened stoically as the two officers, who are both assigned to the Southern Police Station, recounted what they say happened that night. But due to a more than 2-hour cross-examination, only one of the officers took the stand this afternoon. Christina Galanos represents Roll's immediate family, while lawyers Wellington Olander and Sergeant Lennox Colby represented Constable 2648 Carl Smith and Constable 2126 Smith. Roll died of blunt force trauma while detained at the Southern Police Station on February 9th. His death certificate notes that he suffered a ruptured intestine and internal bleeding. During his testimony, Constable 2648 Smith testified that force was used by he and Sergeant 2126 Smith on Roll, but he says that only happened after Roll tried to escape through a window in the inquiry room on the second floor of the Southern Police Station. Corporal Smith says Roll was being questioned concerning a previous escape and robberies in the East Street area. Smith, who has been attached to the investigation section of the Southern Police Station for the past 2 years, says he and Corporal 2126 Smith were interviewing Roll, who appeared sluggish and weak after they toured the East Street area, and Roll pointed out places he had allegedly robbed. That's when, he says, Roll attempted to jump out of the window, forcing him to grab the 20-year-old by the legs, causing the man to fall on the ground, knocking over electrical supplies, chairs, and tables, according to his testimony. During the struggle, Smith says Roll shouted that he was sick with AIDS and he was not going to prison. That's when, he says, Corporal 2126 Smith hit Roll 2 to 3 times with a police-issued baton while the trio struggled for several minutes. Eventually, he says he was able to restrain Roll and handcuffed him before taking him downstairs to the cell block, based on instructions from his supervising officer who had heard a commotion in the room. During cross-examination, Galanos hammered away at Smith's testimony, first asking if Smith was known by the nickname Bruiser, a claim he denied. She then questioned why Roll would attempt to escape if he had already shown police where he allegedly stashed his stolen items. Galanos also highlighted Smith's testimony that for most of the time, Roll appeared to be weak and sluggish. However, he regained full strength for an escape attempt. When asked why he did not include that Roll said he was HIV positive in his detention record so that Roll could get proper care and medication, Smith replied that he wasn't going to spread that information onto others because that would be slander. Also, during cross-examination, Smith admitted using force in the past, but says it was never to get a confession out of a suspect. The inquest will resume tomorrow morning. Acting Coroner Janine Weish-Gomez is hearing the case.
Well, 2 employees in the office of the Prime Minister were reportedly rushed to hospital after complaining of breathing difficulties this morning. This angered dozens of workers who stormed out of the building and demanded that government address concerns of mold. Vonique Toot has the story.
Despite assurances from the Prime Minister that mold found in the Sir Cecil Wallace Whitfield building presented no threat to staff members' health, more than 30 workers walked off the job this morning. They say the final straw was when 2 of their colleagues were rushed to hospital this week with respiratory problems. An employee from the Information Technology Department was taken to hospital on Tuesday after complaining of breathing difficulties. Then at around 10 this morning, another worker reportedly fainted. Shop steward for the IT department, Yvonne Taylor, says that's when they decided they couldn't stay in the building a moment longer.
It was really a scary sight. In fact, the officer, especially yesterday, we really thought she was going to die, I think a little more, and that officer really could not breathe. Okay, and who called? I think the police officer, he contacted brought the ambulance in.
And how long have employees been concerned about mold in the building?
Well, we've been at DIT over last year. We complained to our supervisor that we were experiencing problems about molds, and they said it was being dealt with. We didn't see any results.
The multi-million-dollar building located on West Bay Street houses the office of the Prime Minister, Ministry of Finance, and IT Department. Prime Minister Christie was not there when workers walked out. They were joined by President of the Bahamas Public Service Union, John Pinder. Taylor says about 300 people work in the building, but only IT and Ministry of Finance employees left their posts today. She says a number of them have complained of health issues in recent months.
The majority of us have respiratory symptoms. Persons who have sinus, and you know, a lot of times every morning persons were experiencing tightening of chests and bringing up a lot of cold, dizziness, and the area is very stuffy. And there's a strange odor in most of the areas.
One employee was even seen walking out of the building with a mask on. Just last week, Prime Minister Christie said a Canada-based firm examined the building and found a form of mold that did not pose health risks. Staff members took this picture of mold on a wall in the IT department. Pinder says this situation is so serious, government should consider shutting down this entire building for a day or 2.
They showed us one or 2 things. It's that bad. You know, the building is an old building. They have discovered some leaking pipes, which was part of the problem. As you know, molds create due to moisture and poor quality of air. And so they are in the process now of getting those contractors engaged in speeding up the work that needs to be done so that the building can be conducive to productivity.
Pinder says it is important for his members' concerns to be addressed because the work they do is crucial.
You too crucial to the government agency not to wait. You're very crucial. Finance, everybody depends on you for the money. DIT, everybody depends on you to ensure the systems are up and running. So you're very crucial. But a lot of stuff you can do from home. I mean, you could almost go on an on-call system right now until such time the matter is resolved. You don't have to sit in there.
Pinder says he discussed their concerns with Financial Secretary John Roll. Attempts to reach Roll were not successful. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Toot.
Well, the Shell service station on Tonic Williams Darling Highway turned into a crime scene for a little while today when a young man was found dead inside his vehicle. According to eyewitness reports, Alvin Gibson stopped to the service station before heading to work, which is just down the street, but he never made it outside of his maroon Honda Accord. His body was slumped over in the driver's seat, and at one point his feet could be seen hanging out of the car. Colleagues say Gibson, who was in his mid-20s, worked in the control room at Armor Express Bahamas Limited. His supervisor, Gladstone Major, said they rushed to the scene after getting the sad news at 9 a.m.
I understood he was heading to work at the time. He's due to work shortly before he was found in a state.
Okay, so he stopped here for gas or something?
No, well, apparently he stopped because he found himself unable to finish a few feet away from work. The country needs much like him, and we sadly would miss him.
How long did he work for
And
you?
I don't know if we can find much more employees like him, but I certainly will miss him.
Gibson's family was also on the scene but declined an interview. Relatives comforted each other as the body was removed from the car and placed in a white van. His co-worker, Louine Marcus Petitjean, said Gibson had kidney complications and was often in and out of hospital.
He lost his one of his kidneys last year about the same time, and so he was out of the hospital, so he was on the machine. When he got sick, he developed a passion for God, a deeper passion. And I think for us as young people, we share that passion that Mr. Gibson gave, because when he came to work, he always talked about the Lord. And I think for us, as his co-workers, his memory will live on as a person who lived his life for God. And in the midst of he was sick, every day he came to work and he performed his best. May his soul rest in peace.
Well, police have still launched an investigation into the matter, but for now they say foul play is not suspected. Well, on the third day of the Prince Heburn trial, another officer took the witness stand to give testimony, saying that when he saw Heburn, he didn't look well. Inspector Mark Barrett said he was in the interview room on April 13th when Prince Heburn was being questioned by another detective. Barrett said Heburn refused to answer questions on the advice of his lawyer, and at the end of the interview refused to sign the interview document. Barrett said Heburn did not appear well during the interview, adding that police did not use any coercion measures or did not bring the suspect under duress. At the end of the interview, Barrett said Heburn was charged with the chopping murder of charity worker Nellie Mae Brown Cox. The trial will continue tomorrow at 10 a.m. Justice Indra Charles, who's hearing the matter, said she hopes to wrap the case up before the Easter holiday. Stick with us. Coming up after the break, the business community says the initial shock of the government's proposed work permit changes has died down. We'll tell you more about that and other stories when we come right back.